Good morning, everyone. The Gospel of Mark continues in chapter 2 with more good news, because the Gospel of Mark is about the good news of the kingdom. It opens with a story of Jesus returning to Capernaum, a town where he had been before. And here the crowds gather to hear him. He's in a house, it's so crowded, nobody can get in. But there's one man who wants to come in. In fact, 4 of his friends are so determined to get him in that they climb up onto the roof, a flat-roofed house. They dig a hole in this roof. They lower their friend through right in front of Jesus. Now, I don't know how the owner of that house was feeling at that point, but I know how Jesus felt. The Bible tells us that Jesus was so impressed by their faith, that he said to this young man, "Your sins are forgiven." It's a profound statement, and it's a statement of good news. Your sins are forgiven. People couldn't believe that Jesus had the authority to do that, and so Jesus shows he has the authority and says to this young man who'd been carried in, "Get up, take up your bed and walk." And he does. This is good news. From there we see a man named Levi, who's a tax collector. Nobody likes a tax collector now, let alone then. He is a hated man. And what does Jesus do with a man who is hated by his peers and by the people around him? Jesus welcomes him. In fact, Jesus invites him. "Come and follow me." This man who had no friends finds friends. This man who did not have a good community finds a welcoming community in Jesus. This is good news. And then Jesus confronts traditions. Now, traditions can be really helpful and give great strength to everything that we do. But sometimes traditions have lost their purpose, and we just do them because we do them and we don't know why. And there's a couple of things here in chapter 2 that Jesus confronts the tradition of fasting and of how we treat the Sabbath day. And in both of those, Jesus is able to reveal that if you're holding on to that tradition, you're holding on to the wrong thing. You're holding on to the sign and not to what that sign is pointing to. And he says, be free. He said, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So enjoy the Sabbath. The story in the Gospel of Mark is the story of good news.